Okay. Inspire Wellness Community. Okay, perfect. So we are officially live. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And I'm going to keep this up without any sound in case anyone has any questions. So awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I am really excited about this topic. We had an awesome pre-conversation and I took so many notes just from that. So I know you're going to provide a lot of value to our community. For those that are watching, this is the second of a 7-part series called Inspired Conversations. And so what we're doing is bringing you experts on a variety of topics, people that are super passionate about what it is they're speaking to, with the hope of giving you some really good nuggets that you can take into your day, not just during quarantine, but beyond. And so I'm really excited. I'm going to give the floor to you. Tell us about yourself and your kind of where you got, how you got here and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, I want to definitely start off by saying thank you to you and the Inspired Wellness community. I think what you guys are doing is great and, really progressive and forward thinking. And I think that's awesome that you care so much about your clients to be doing things like this. So thank you very much for having me. My name is Marco Guizar. I am the proud founder here at Fitsom in Sacramento. And we specialize in all things stress, anxiety, and chronic pain. And we got here because we were once upon a time a gym, very much like a CrossFit gym. And we noticed over the years that our clients many of them were in a lot of pain. And they were, my shoulder hurts, my lower back, my leg, my foot. And so we developed over time, I think we've really been working in this fashion for the last 6, almost 7 years. And then about 6 months ago, we decided to discontinue all of our fitness classes and hyper focus on stress, anxiety, and pain. And that's exclusively what we do today.
Can we speak to that a little bit? Because we spoke about this earlier. That is such a big shift. And that is one that I know as an entrepreneur, business owner myself would be so incredibly hard to do. By the way, I was fangirling when this happened. I saw you guys on social media and my heart was so happy that you followed your heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I knew that you had to have been going through so many things all at the same time and just pivoting your entire business model. Can you speak to that a little bit and kind of how you navigated that time? Because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with is how to pivot, how to adapt. We're learning that now, how to pivot and adapt to current times, how to pivot and adapt to a new reality.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to sit here and tell you that it was just like, oh, it was just like butter, and and we all decided, but no, it was very, 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 very difficult. It challenged us in every way, shape, and form, and ultimately, there's 3 of us: myself, Caitlin, and Ken O'Shea, and we got together, and we were miserable. We were completely miserable. We wanted to do this, but what we were doing was actually making money and paying the bills, and all our clients, that's all they wanted to do. And so we didn't have a way out, and we were just completely stressed out. We were not happy. And we got together and we said, well, if this is life, you might as well live for who we want to be. And it's better to shut down, but at least we're going to try, and at least we're going to follow our hearts. And one day we said, okay, if that's true, because everybody wanted us to do it in phases. Everybody wanted us to go, kick back the fitness classes. And then, everybody wanted that. Even our clients wanted that. But what we eventually saw very clearly, that if we had fitness in our space, that the world would always think of us as a gym. And the only way to completely dedicate ourselves to this space is to not give anybody a choice, but to see us for what we wanted to be seen for, which is stress, anxiety, and pain. So we got together, and it was a very hard conversation. I'm pretty sure a couple of us were in tears. But we said, hey, let's just try. Let's try. And then one client signed up. We changed everything. We changed our offerings. We told all of our clients. We thought we were going to lose half of them. We ended up losing over 100 clients. We lost every single last one except for 4. So we kept 4 moving forward. So it was a very, very, very tough transition for us. It was extremely painful. But I am so happy to say that we live a life that is very fulfilling now. Everything that was so terrible back then is now so wonderful today. All of our clients that were here once upon a time, as awesome as they are personally, were not our people. They were not our tribe. And you hear all these business books, oh my God, your tribe, builds your community. But we were not passionate about the same things that they were passionate. They wanted to rows, they wanted to squats, they wanted to sweat. We wanted them to be less stressed out, to not be so tight, to have a relationship with their deep pelvis, to have a balanced nervous system, so that it would have never worked out. We were constantly going like this with our older clients, and like, boom, here we are today. And every single client that comes to Fitsom or does virtual sessions or follows us on Instagram is doing that because they are here to talk about they're stressed out or their shoulder hurts or they, any list goes on, and it's exactly what we want. So our community is growing and flourishing, and we feel really good. But yeah, it did not come without a tremendous amount of uncertainty. I mean, we have 2 kids at home, and we thought about our kids. And I remember, I'll never forget, we had this big conversation, and I'm laying down, and my son Jax is 4, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, man, if we don't do this, what am I going to tell him? How am I supposed to, I'm not even a full person right now. Like, what kind of father am I? And it was inspiration from the universe was just like, go do it. You got and then one thing happened. One person signed up, then another person signed, and we were able to, in a month, recover a lot of that lost revenue. And then the next month was better. And then the next month, and it ended up, it's really worked out for us.
Okay. So I just have to say, you're giving me chills. I have all these little, because having a child, I so understand, because we want to be a pillar for them. We want to show them how to be courageous and how to pursue their true dreams, not the dreams that we have for them, which sometimes it's hard not to impose that, But what I'm hearing from this is you went through an incredibly stressful time, came out on the other end of this, and now a lot of this we're going to talk on stress and anxiety. I want to touch on a really fascinating statistic that you talked about, and let's dive deeper into that, because I think people don't necessarily understand what you went through when you pivoted that business. Some people go through in a day, right? In terms of the amount of crazy nervous system dysregulation and all sorts of physical symptoms. I know you see so much. So one, I'd like to talk about that statistic. And then can you also give us just some examples of the ways in which you see stress manifest in people when they come in to see you, and kind of they come to you with their broken parts, fix me. Where are they at that point?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing that we're looking at Fitsom is right when you walk through the doors, we're looking at your gait cycle. We're looking at how are you moving? Are you moving your shoulders when you move? Because that's a really big indicator to how your respiratory system is, the condition of your respiratory system. And these things are very, very intertwined. When people come see us, I would say I don't have the detailed numbers, but I would say 8 out of 10 people who come to see us, 80%, their breathing mechanics are extremely compromised. And a good way to understand that is, do you hold your breath at odd times? Do you get an email and all of a sudden you're just holding your breath and then you kind of catch your breath, right? That is a very strong sign that your nervous system is very imbalanced. Your sympathetic nervous system is taking over. It's a very dangerous place to be. The list of the symptoms of a chronic stress, and I have them actually pulled up here. Let's just go through them. Headaches, heartburn, rapid breathing, risk of a heart attack, pounding heart, fertility problems, erectile dysfunction, missed period, tense muscles, low sex drive, stomach aches, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, weakened immune system, insomnia, increased depression.
Okay, so now I want to speak about that statistic and how it is so relevant to what you just said. When we were speaking earlier, you had mentioned that 80 to 90% of hospital visits are stress related. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh, I mean, that's a lot. But everything you just described, those are all things that people either go to the hospital for or they go to their doctor with all these different symptoms and things. And I was telling you my own experience recently. I've been having some breathing trouble, and I know after speaking to you, it's probably at least a little bit stress related. And what did they want to give me? An inhaler, right? They didn't want to go to the root cause of why I've been having breathing problems. And so I am curious too, what are your thoughts on how much are we missing the mark when it comes to people that are coming in with things that are clearly stress related, but then they're just kind of like being a Band-Aid's put on a gaping wound?
I mean, I think it's a very, very sad, borderline criminal situation that we have in our healthcare system today. I think that millions and millions of Americans, including people that are going to listen to this podcast and whatever, Facebook, however you're going to consume it, including yourself watching this right now. I mean, we have not been on a good path as far as healthcare and medicine for the last 20, 30 years. And you know it, and I know it. And because out of every 10 people who are going to consume this content right now, just ask yourself, how has it been? How has your experience been with your doctor? Does your doctor really know what's going on in your life? Does that person really understand your lifestyle? The answer is no. How can he or she, you see them one time a month, one time a year, maybe, sometimes not. Like, how can they really get to the root cause of your ailments? For instance, here at Fitsom, we see our clients a lot. Like, we see our clients, twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week. That's 4 times a month. So we weren't getting progress with the client. We weren't getting progress with the client through conversation on the table. Boom. Oh, she's smashing 4 cups of coffee in the morning every single day. That's how she starts her movie. Got it. Winged her off the coffee. That's a good example of what's happening in our healthcare system. We don't know our clients, our patients well enough to really understand the underlying lifestyle choices that we make throughout the day in order to correct the situation, in order to really heal and feel good throughout the day. And it's really, I know you and I spoke about this earlier. It's been an epidemic, like I've been saying this for a number of years, like we're going to look back upon the last 10, 20 years of medicine and healthcare. It was the dark ages. And I'm going to work so hard. I'm so dedicated to this that we at Fitsom are going to try everything in our power to make the next 10 to 20 years of healthcare and medicine so much better. And it's through getting to know our clients. It's through understanding the root causes, not being hyper-focused on all of the symptoms.
Yeah. And I like this. I like the word hyper-focused. I like the idea because you mentioned earlier too, I think you said chopping at the root, or are we chopping at, the stuff at the top, which I like those visuals. And you talked about how stress is its own pandemic that's been going on for 15 plus years, which I completely agree. I'm curious if you think that stress is something that happens to us or it's a state of mind. For example, 2 people can be in the same situation and it's extremely stressful, right, in terms of whatever is going on. And so do you think that it's possible to navigate those extremely stressful situations and not come out on the other side of that with, issue upon issue upon issue? Because that is something I think people also think, is that life just kind of happens to them. And I'm really curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yes. I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but let me just say this. I was in the Marine Corps. I fought in Iraq. I fought in Afghanistan. I was in the Marine Corps infantryman, and I fought pretty heavily my first tour. I had a lot of PTSD. A lot of PTSD. Had no clue, no concept of it. I had no idea I was dealing with so much PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. That's my story. That's, you know, I was 19 years old and I experienced those things. I got out of the Marine Corps when I was 22. I'm 35 now. I'm just getting to the point where I feel like I'm healing and yada, 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 right? That's my story. You know who else has PTSD? Someone who got in a car wreck. You know who else has PTSD? Someone that was in an abusive relationship. You know who else has PTSD? Someone that is year after year under a tremendous amount of stress. And so again, here we are, and how when someone goes through a really bad breakup in their life, they're wrecked. Dude, all of us have been through it. We're wrecked. You can't breathe. You're you know, and it takes the air out of you, and it's like you're shocked, right? And think about how many people have been in car wrecks, abusive relationships, with raped, you know, and then, but we don't take the action in the course of what we do with veterans, which is interjection, you know, therapy. What do you need? But, you know, like there's, I think that happens a lot. So I think to answer your first, it's PTSD is broad and very broad. Entrepreneurs, PTSD. Come on. What are we talking about? Come on.
Pretty much daily, we have a new form of trauma of some kind. And I don't mean that to be sympathy. I just mean having navigated from the corporate world to this world, I could have never prepared myself for just some of the things that happen on a daily basis, right? That could certainly be considered trauma, just in terms of your ability to navigate or not navigate various surprises.
So I know this is a very long way to answer your question, but it's the way I have to answer it, because you're more than likely, you're already compromised. You're dealing with some type of PTSD symptoms, you know, through life. You know, a BA, just going through your bachelor's, that is very stressful. That is not like an easy, you know, going through the postdoc, you know, like those things are very, very traumatic, right? So then you get out into the world, you've already gone through the grinder, and then it's like, holy shoot, you know, and then you have to climb this other mountain, which is birth, having kids, career choices. And so it's so much. So now we're getting to answer your question specifically. So you're already really bound up. The tissue around your rib cage, the soft tissue, the muscle, the fascia around your pecs, around your lungs, literally around your lungs, your shoulders, everything is very tight. So, and now we're going to answer your question. Two people are coming in, they're dealing with the same exact amount of stress. The one who's going to do better is the one who is not completely tied up and tight around their shoulder complex, their deep stomach, their belly, serratus anterior, infraspinatus, lats, pecs, sternocleidomastoid, masseter, diaphragm, psoas. If whoever has better length tension relationships is going to deal with stress much better, because they're going to breathe. All the muscles that and things that I just pointed out are tied into your breathing mechanics. So when we bring on clients here at Fitsom, our first priority is to get their breathing mechanics to be better, because when you're breathing, you have a more all of this comes back to a regulated nervous system. If we can, like we talk about defining what Fitsom stands for a fit state of mind, you know, Fitsom, Fitsom. But when we talk about Fitsom, what does that mean? What are we trying to say? We're trying to say our goal should be to have a regulated, balanced nervous system.
Okay, so what I need to point out is we hear a lot about the mind-body connection. What I like about what you guys do and what you teach and preach to is you really help us understand what that even means, because I've heard that before, mind-body connection. You seem to really, really hone in on breath and nervous system, which is fascinating to me, because until I even learned about your modalities and what it is you do, I hadn't even thought of that as much, right? I thought, okay, mind-body connection. Yeah, you know, stress manifests in the body. Again, we hear it all the time. We're numb to it, right? We know stress causes issues, but hey, we got to go to work and we're late. We got to go, whatever. So I love that you are able to put those pieces together and connect the dots in terms of the nervous system part of it. Can you maybe describe, so we know the ways in which stress affects us. What are just a couple examples? Because I myself am really curious. So I'm also taking notes for myself. What are some ways in which you feel that the nervous system in specific, like what are some examples of that being kind of out of whack? Like what are some physical symptoms that people might be able to look for? I'm not saying to go be hypochondriacs, but I think it's important to know, like, what are some ideas of, okay, my nervous system is out of whack because of said symptoms?
Got it. Okay, so if we're talking about symptoms, I think you should really look at your response to uncomfortable situations, i.e., an email comes in from your boss. How do you react to that? You know, your relationships. How are you reacting in your relationships? I think people with kids are a really great example. Are you short with your kid? Like, God damn, I should put that down. You know, like things like that. Those are all very, very clear signs of an overactive sympathetic nervous system. It's just, you're always way over here. You have very little rest and digest. You have very rare, like we talk to our clients all the time, and I ask them, when is the last time that you felt a place of deep peace? And a very big majority of my clients say very rarely, if not, they can't remember. That's a problem. You know, there's fight or flight, which is your sympathetic nervous system, and then there's rest and digest, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. And if most people that I believe, it's a very high percentage, and it's not just me saying these things, it's statistics and the CDC, and you know, we're completely, in my opinion, as a nation, just sympathetic, all of it. It's all over here. It's very little rest, and it's like, look at our world. We're all so hyperactive. We're all just running around, got to get the toilet paper, got to do all this. Like, it's just that they're all signs of overactive nervous systems. It's truly incredible.
Yeah. And I think that kind of what we said earlier too, is that when we go to the doctor with these symptoms, oftentimes we're given a Band-Aid. We're not looking at the root cause. And it's interesting. I also wanted to talk about this a little bit too, is you mentioned basically how trauma, it's like cumulative. It stores up, and sometimes it's big trauma, sometimes it's little, but it stores up, and it's like your trauma bank, and you're just adding to it. And then at some point, if you're not fixing things, it's like you have this big, huge trauma pile, right? And I can see how, yes.
Meltdown, burnout.
Right, burnout. I feel like burnout is a major issue in our society, like hands down burnout. We hear that word so often now, again, that we've become a little bit numb to it. And so I love that you also kind of, I've always heard of trauma, and I think of it as this big thing. Trauma has to be this big event, this momentous event. But what about those mini traumas that we're going through that we never fully recuperated from, or didn't have the tools to navigate properly? And
it's all in there. It's all literally inside of your body. Yeah. It's in your pec minors, it's in your pec majors, it's in your psoas, it's in your rectus abdominis, it's in your pelvis, it's in your jaw. A lot of our clients, I mean, we teach this, the masseter release a lot. Like, you know, it's in your jaw. It's right here. And that's, you clench your jaw, you clench, you know, but you don't get the release. And it's in your body. Literally, and I'm not talking some woo-woo stuff. I'm saying that it's just science. It's just, if you agree that Dr. Robert Sapolsky, a Stanford neuroscientist, anything I'm saying, I am just literally paraphrasing and taking these from my mentors and we just put it together in the way that we felt was easiest for clients to understand. And because we felt this work was so important, like, it's all in there.
Let's highlight that book too, because I think that's a good read for anyone who's nerdy and likes to nerd out on things. So it's Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, which I can tell you as a card carrying library member is available at the library as well. I have it on my hold list. And so that book, it sounds like, really set the foundation for how you are able to help others, which is amazing. That's why I
It
love.
changed my life. It changed my life in every way, shape, and form. When I read this book, I stopped. I will never forget. I read, human beings are the only species on this planet who could make something up in their mind and their bodies have physical reactions. Dr. Robert Sapolsky. I never forget reading that and just like, it stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? You're telling me that if I'm just sitting here worried about my kids, that my body's going to react? Yeah. So you're sitting there worried about your bills and your stomach is literally tightening up right now. Your brain cannot differentiate what is happening in reality and what's happening in your mind, things that will probably never come true. Your body is paying for.
You are making me, I have told you so many times that I also need to come see you guys, because I'm all about self-care and self-love, and I've dealt with anxiety my whole life, and I've made major strides on my path, and I was able to get off my anxiety medication 10 years ago, and I've been medication free forever. However, I think the missing piece for myself and a lot of people, not even people who have a chronic condition or a diagnosed condition, is that they don't necessarily see the little micro moments in their day that are affecting them more than the big moments that even cause them to go to the doctor in the first place. So like, your breathing happens all day long. And it's so interesting to me how, yeah, of course that might affect you in this insidious, constant, like nitpicky kind of way throughout the day. And I just find it fascinating that I had breathing issues recently after we went through this whole crazy pandemic, having to shut down and go online within 2 days. So I just love your work, and I am a fangirl for life. I want to talk about some applicable things that we can apply to, and because I think part of this is someone's going to hear this. Several people are going to hear this and they're going to go, well, that's great, but I can't really do that because my life is crazy. I have a typical 9-to-5 job. That sounds good for other people, but it's not going to work for me and my life. So how do you kind of get people to step away from that mindset, number one? Because I feel like that's a big one. It's like they use that as the reason for not doing the work, because insert excuse here, but like you said earlier too, we have to do the work. The work and being dedicated to the process is where the change actually happens. So what would you say to someone like that? How would you navigate that journey with them in terms of helping them kind of shift their perception of what is capable, what's possible for them, on that journey?
Yeah, definitely. So I want to start off by like this. I want to say that this is not your fault. The person watching, this is not your fault. And the second thing I would say is that from all of us here at Fitsom and Inspired Wellness, like, I say this stuff with love. Okay. So let's get into it. So if you're watching this or hearing this and you deal with headaches, heartburn, rapid breathing, if your heart pounds at odd times, you're dealing with fertility problems, erectile dysfunction, if you're missing your cycles as a woman, if you have tense muscles, if you have low sex drive, stomach aches, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, if you have a weakened immune system, if you deal with insomnia and or increased depression, then if you deal with any of the things that I just said, I think a very strong first step is to get yourself one of these.
And so can you tell it? I know the name of this, but I would like to give us some education on it. What is it? What does it do?
Yeah. So this is called the Theracane. I did not invent this beautiful, wonderful tool. I wish I had, but this is a Theracane. It's a self-massage tool. So you get to be able to do this stuff to yourself. Remember I was showing you masseter earlier, right? Right here, scalings. There's pec minors. And to answer your question as to what can someone do, if you got a hold of one of these things and I just had you step on it, like just step on these two knobs, you would want to jump off because your plantar fascia is so incredibly tight. Your calves are tight. Your hamstrings are tight. Your deep stomach is tight. So you have again, this is not your fault, but you don't have a very good relationship with your own body. and just like I didn't, just like all of our clients did not have until we started to dig at this stuff. What is that? Oh my God, why is that so tight? Oh my gosh, what is that knot in my stomach? Is that a knot? Like I literally thought I had a tumor in my stomach because I went to 6, 7 different doctors telling them, look at my stomach, feel this thing. What is that? And to see scans, and I don't even know how many scans I did. It wasn't until I did the work that I was able to break through those fascial adhesions and feel a million times better. So,
Right. Well, I just wanted to mention that so that's something that someone can do at their desk.
yeah, exactly. It's like the first step, in my opinion, in our opinion here at Fitsom, is to get to know your body, get to know this thing that you're going to live. This is the most important thing in your life, literally. Get to know it, get to know where you hold on to incredible amounts of tension. Some people hold on to it in their jaw. Some people hold on to it in their pelvis, in their genitalia, that where their genitalia lives, their pelvic floor is completely so hard and so full of knots because you hold all your tension deep down in there. And you wonder why you don't have a good sex life. You don't wonder why you can't even breathe into those areas, like, and these are the things that make us human. These are the things that are beautiful, but a lot of people deal with very, very deep tightness in very, very deep areas. For instance, the respiratory system, like what surrounds your lungs, your rib cage does. What's around your rib cage? Serratus anterior, pec minor, pec major, like all these muscles that surround this rib cage, they're just like this. They're so tight, you can't even breathe. So once we release them with that Theracane, then you can go. And then things magically, mysteriously get better. So this is like an invitation to the person watching this, is if you have ailments, if you have these things that you really want to take a look at, the first step is body work. I mean, we quantify this as body work. We have massage therapists here on staff here at Fitsom, but I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you that the biggest value that we have here at Fitsom is teaching people how to do the body work to themselves. You need a lot of work, just like I did, and I'm continuously working on this. I work on this every single day of my life. I work in the knots in my stomach, my hamstrings, my calves. It keeps me going. But you need a lot of work at the end of the day. You need a couple hundred hours at $110 a session. That gets a little pricey for most of us. And so that's why we are very, very, very big proponents about teaching our clients how to do the work to themselves. Like, really, there's no other way. I'll be honest, there's no other way.
Well,
It's you.
and I like this because obviously they invest in a program like yours or whatever it is they invest in, but I think so many don't talk about what they do. It's almost like they want them to be dependent on the program so that right, like people don't actually have the skills needed to do it on their own. So then they will have setbacks simply because they couldn't get in, or there's just other things that happen. So I think that that's so important to empower people to navigate their own aches and pains. Imagine, I'm just inspired even just thinking, like, imagine if I, let's say, had a stressful event, I could assess it. I could understand kind of what my nervous system was doing, what my breathing was doing, maybe where I could make some corrections. It's almost, to me, that is more power. And if anything, when you do get presented with things, they just don't feel so big because now you have the tools to navigate it.
I mean, you pretty much just nailed it right on the head. And like, just listen to what you just said. Like, imagine when life happens and you just breathe right through it, and you don't just like, and you don't seize up, and you don't go home and internalize it. You just let it flow. Like, imagine what type of power that is. And like, we did a big podcast internally, and it got a little heated. And so we didn't post it because I personally got so heated about it. And it was like, this is the problem. The problem is that we gave away our power year after year, We gave away our power to this system, to the healthcare system. Fix me, doctor. I need help. Tell me what's wrong with me. Like how, like we, every year we gave it away and gave it away and gave it away. And then here we are, completely powerless in this this pandemic or whatever the heck this is. And like, but man, wouldn't it feel powerful to know yourself, know your body, know what fascia is, understand the nervous system, get your blood flowing, your lymph, your spinal fluid, your skeletal system, your posture, your breathing mechanics, like to know yourself like that, and to be able to, like exactly what you just said, when stress happens, to navigate it and to not get dominated by it, but for you to dominate. And I think that that's really what power, like really truly, like, you know, I have clients that work at the governor's office, or, you know, they work for the politicians here, and I continuously harp on them. You need to be the calm one in the room. You need to be the one that's, because someone that is calm is making a decent decision. You know, someone who is erratic and at the top of their nervous system, they will not make, I mean, it's just math, you know, like.
I totally agree. And I want to actually just real quick go back to, we talked about this earlier, and I thought it was really interesting because no matter what our thoughts are on the virus itself and the mechanics of that, I do think that we know for sure one thing, and that's that people who have, not just people with compromised immune systems, but you spoke to some other things that would make someone more susceptible to the virus that to me are not part of really a compromised immune system in the general terms. And also how you guys aren't necessarily stressing as much because you're doing so much already just in your daily life to mitigate, you know, various stressors. So tell me, what are some things that you feel would make someone more susceptible to the virus that maybe don't have pre-existing health conditions? But as we're seeing, stress is in itself a pre-existing condition. And then what are some things that they could do to alleviate it? Because I know we talked about ice baths and things like that. So
Okay.
what are they? Well, you get it.
Yeah. First off, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy who reads a lot of books, and that's how I got here. I just read so many books that I was just like, oh my God, this is really wonderful information. You know, today I have taken an ice bath. You know, I was in that literally ice bath water. I think I did 3 minutes of that, breathed the whole time. I've done an infrared sauna, 20 minutes, and I have given myself body work, and I feel really good. I just couldn't encourage someone enough to actively be a part of this thing, this your daily routines. We work out, you know, we think working out is important. It's really important, right? Why not work out your breathing muscles? Why not work out and balance your nervous system? Why not get your tissue to a better place in the face of any virus, bacteria, any ailment that is out there, for you to be a stronger version of your immune system, to be stronger, because all of these systems, and I'm talking about your cardiovascular system, that your heart is pumping stronger and not struggling so much because there's so much tightness around it, that your liver is pulsing, that your kidney is working properly because there's movement in the area and it's not just a bunch of knots, that your digestive system is not fighting through all that tightness in the body because your stomach is full of knots, and so on and so on and so on. It is really incredible the way you could feel if you were a very active participant in making sure that these very important systems were optimized. You know, I think that is really the ultimate, you know, is really achieving a level, because, you know, where is fear on that spectrum? When you are doing all of these things every day, every other day, you're working on them religiously. You are a very big part of that. Like, are you scared? You know, I'm not. I personally, you know, with all due respect to everybody out there, but I do not find very much fear in the current situation. But I'm working very diligently to maintain that, and to, you know, if someone, myself, my wife, if we are we are doing everything in our power to stay healthy. And that's what, let's just, I'm going to try to maintain my composure. It's really upsetting to me. Here we're in this thing, and where is the government officials saying, let's get our immunity up? Where is the healthcare system really stepping up and saying, you need to get healthier in order for you to be less susceptible to this virus? Nothing. Zero. We're waiting on a vaccine. Step is the first. That's what we're doing. Stay at home and wash your hands. That's the advice that you have for us. Like, it's shameful. It's shameful. Like, I don't even have another word for it. Like, really, dude? Like, this is how you're treating us when we needed you the most. That's what's going on around here.
Yeah. And I feel very strongly that you don't need to be a doctor. You don't even need to be in the medical field to know how important it is to take care of yourself, and not just now. In fact, I think what we did prior to this is even more important, because now whatever we did was like, we're storing for what we're doing now. And so I do want to touch on that. Like, whether or not someone is from a medical background, we can all agree that doing things every day to improve our health, improve our nervous system, improve our bodies is a positive thing. And I so agree with you that I'm fine with the information being disseminated to us, but let's include the stuff that you just mentioned, because I thought the same thing. I thought, why are we not talking more about these things? And why are we not? It is baffling to me. But I think it speaks to the deeper issue that we kind of mentioned earlier, where we're just not being given the care that we need, because root cause is just not the system that we operate within. So it kind of makes sense to me. I'm not surprised, because root cause was never the model that is practiced here. And let me be clear, because I don't want to be accused of being anti-Western medicine, because that's not me. I want to say that Western medicine, you better believe I'm thankful for it if I get in a major car wreck and I need to paired, right? But I have an Eastern medicine doctor for my root cause stuff, because I've just realized that when I went to the doctor, for example, for my breathing issues, I got an inhaler, right? They didn't even ask me about my lifestyle. They didn't ask me about stress. They didn't ask me about nutrition. They didn't ask me about fit, nothing. It was just like, oh, asthma, here's an inhaler. So I encourage you, regardless of how, I don't want to sway anyone's opinion. I want people to get to those opinions on their own, but I want to plant that seed that if you feel like you haven't been getting what you need, you might need to have a mix. You might have your Western for the acute traumas, and then you need to have maybe an Eastern for those things where you go deeper and you root down deeper. And I've always believed that. And I've always believed that Western medicine has a place, but that place is not in uncovering and working on root cause issues.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we only have to look at the numbers and the statistics as to what is getting us. It's heart. I think heart disease and cardiovascular disease is the top killer in the United States of America. Like, we can attribute that right now to stress. Irregular heartbeats. There's so many things that can come back to that. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's interesting for me. Like, I've been talking about this stuff for a long time. And this was it. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power. We can't go back. We can't continue this. That's literally insanity to practice this way. We have to change. We have to, and I think that enough people today are ready to hear this stuff. We're like, I'm not talking about Eastern. We're born right here in the United States of America. We just have to evolve. Western medicine is due for an evolution, and to really step into what works and what doesn't, and view it through that lens. If it's not working, then we need to let it go. And we need to invite things that really have hard sciences that, like, we could take. I mean, we're so excited to be doing studies. We're going to be doing some studies here. We're going to be doing a lot to show the general public, like, listen, like, you could, at the end of the day, you are free. This is the United States. You are free to have your beliefs with all respect, but here's our way. This is our way. And it's not the most comfortable way. Trust me, there's tears in this. It's hard. It's a lot of work, but what do you get? You get power, and you get power over these things that are really important to you and your family.
Yeah. And what I hear you saying in that is essentially shifting the narrative. So maybe it's not that we even need to go and rely on something completely. Maybe it's that we start to influence the conventional thinking, and we start to say, hey, there's another way that we can do this, where this model that is clearly broken can start to be repaired. And I can see what you mean. Absolutely. So I know that you've got a hard stop coming up, and there's a couple things I wanted to leave people with. So
Yeah.
I wanted to see if it's possible for you to leave us with, I always say, 3 to 5 actionable strategies that people can take away from this conversation starting today. And because we talked a lot about stress and body work, and I'm sure people probably feel like information overload in terms of, okay, so like, where do I begin? Obviously coming to see you is something they could do, but can you just leave them with, okay, some things that you would tell someone if they wanted to know from this conversation where to start?
Yes. So I've answered the same question many times, but it's a little bit different now because, we're stepping into this virtual realm. To answer the question is get a hold of a really good body work. That is where it all starts, in the body work, because we have to raise your awareness as to how tight you truly are. Unfortunately, these things aren't very surface level at the top of your consciousness. They're very deep in there, and you don't honestly, many people who are watching this right now have no clue how tight they really are. So my answer would be to get a good body worker, a massage therapist, to get in there and to start unraveling that. But today we can't, because we're in quarantine. So, and I swear this is not a self-promotion, but like, it's like, we would love to work with you online, because we teach you how to use this thing online, and it's super effective. It's been so effective for us because again, at the end of the day, it's not us. It's not Fitsom who's going to save you. It's you. And we're just going to be the people here teaching you how to. So if you can't get a hold of someone to do body work to you, get a hold of this thing and figure out how to use it on yourself, and raise the awareness that you have in your body as to how tight you are. That's number one. Number two, if you like to read, if you enjoy Audible or like to read, get yourself this book. Don't hear it from Fitsom. Don't hear it from Christina, Inspired Wellness. Listen to a Stanford neuroscientist. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's done a ton of research in this stress field, and is incredibly powerful. So if that's something that you need to hear it from somebody else, this is the book to grab. It's a great read. You don't even have to finish it. Read the first 3 chapters. I promise it will change your life. If you can really read this first 3 chapters, you will have an aha moment. I promise. The third thing I would say is I want you to monitor your stress responses. Response when you have a fight with your husband or wife. Response with your boss, a coworker. How does that feel? And what is your response like physically? Do you hold your breath? If you hold your breath, then I would want you to practice. You caught it? Okay, I caught it. I'm definitely holding my breath. I'm just going to reward myself by taking 2 breaths. And that's it. I mean, that's really where I think it starts. It's tough to have this conversation when someone doesn't understand how tight they truly are, right? Because they'll be like, I don't need this, I'm good. But you're not. Like, you have deep, deep, deep knots in these really weird, odd areas. The perineum is deep inside of your pelvis. It's full of knots. It's tissue.
I fully believe that everyone can benefit from body work. In fact, we even had a little bit of that done when baby was first born. And we had her just a little minor adjustment. I really I believe wholeheartedly in body work, and I totally agree. So in closing, if there's anything you want to add to at the end, please let me know. So if there's anything we didn't touch on that you want to make sure that they really grasp, you can go ahead and share that. If not, tell me where we find you. So I know you've got social media, you're very active on social media. So where can we find you and learn more about you?
Yeah, thank you. Instagram is a great way to get a hold of us, Fitsom Studios. That's us. And we post a lot of videos on Theracaning and our thoughts on the situation. And we're really excited for the next few weeks and months as we roll out our courses and our virtual sessions, continue our virtual sessions. It's an exciting time for us here at Fitsom. I think that overall as a team, we're doing a good job. We're taking care of each other. And I think it really speaks to, we're navigating this well because we're dedicated to ourselves first and foremost, in the sense of our body work, our stress responses, our ice baths, our infrared saunas, that we're taking care of ourselves that way in order to be able to serve the greater community. So Instagram is a great way to get a hold of us. Jump on our website and check out what we're doing on there. That's how you can get a hold of us.
Okay, and before we go, I just want to give you a virtual high five because we, like you, have pivoted and adapted, and it has actually been such a transformational experience to see how strong we really are. That, I don't know about you, but I just feel like, okay, you know, I feel like I could just tackle anything after what just happened.
Dude, I say this all the time to our team. I say, if a comet, an asteroid was heading towards the Earth and we had a month notice, I don't know, whatever, you're going to Home Depot, you're going to go get some car parts, we're going to build a rocket, and we can do anything. We are so incredibly gifted. And I'm talking about you watching this. You're so smart, you're so gifted, the internet's at your fingertips, you're so creative, and you got this. We got this. And I am excited for the future. I know a lot of people out there are feared, and that's okay. You know, I think we need to process that, but then we got to get to work. You know, this isn't going to fix itself. It's going to take work from our end personally in order to get to where we're going.
I love that. And I think that's such a great note to end on, leaving people with hope, because I'm sure we opened up a lot of uncertainty, right? Like, what's wrong with me? No, that's the beauty, is now you know. So now you can actually get to feeling better instead of what's wrong with me. I'm not really sure. Okay, I got this thing, but that has 10 side effects. So I actually think there's hope in understanding. And actually that's, I have a thyroid disease, and on my journey, as I started to actually learn what was happening, I actually felt less anxiety. And so, because now I knew, like, okay, I'm not dying, I just have a low thyroid. Like that was very helpful on my journey to actually have more knowledge. So I love that. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you guys at Inspired Wellness. And I hope this is the catalyst for a deeper, longer relationship with you guys and your clients.
Yay. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Time for Q&A, but what I'll do is questions that pop up, I'll send them your way, and we can kind of figure that out as we go.
Yeah, of course. Awesome.
All right. All right, you guys.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.